Greetings, welcome. So in the last video, I mentioned I'd stumbled across this some years ago. Free energy, Nikola Tesla for absolute dummies. And it's like, hey, that's my speed. And that I believed I'd actually accidentally created this voltage transformer. And here's one iteration of it. And we mentioned that it also looks a lot like Slobodan Cook's DC-DC converter, which you can read about on Wikipedia and elsewhere. And then we tapped out by hand that, here's one way to do it with the diode. This is how we did it in the video. And the voltage goes up above the starting voltage. And then if you flip this over, now it's negative, but there's a greater potential across here. So the voltage goes up even higher, and then you can flip it again. But you can also do it like this, and this is what we'll illustrate on the breadboard today. So here's the breadboard right now. I've been getting frustrated with all kinds of stuff, and I'm going to tear this all down. People have been saying make circuit diagrams. Yeah, if I can, and it doesn't take me half a day or something. So what I'll try to do is just talk through this in depth as we go along. So we have a clean breadboard now, and I'll just talk through the circuit for you. And show it to you, and that's sort of the circuit diagram. So we have our positive bus line coming in from power, or it could be coming in from a battery. Right now it's going to be coming in from a power source. And here's your positive bus line, and likewise here's your negative bus line. We have pin 6 from the Arduino Uno, and then of course you need the negative to the Arduino ground, triggering this opto-isolated relay. We have pin 7. That comes out, and there's the ground, and it triggers this opto-isolated relay. But it's doing double duty because you can see this blue line goes over to here to the positive little button there, and the negative goes to there to the negative of this. So when this pin 7 goes on, both of these go high. And right now we just see the negative of the bus line going to here, but if we put a line from the positive bus line into here, then, well, that jumper was kind of overkill, so I used this now. So now the positive is going to this switch, the negative is going to this switch. So when this turns on, then power can flow from here to here, and on the negative side it flows from here to here, which is just going out to here, and then there's a little bridge there. I should just move this down. It would be better, but be more simple. But you get the idea. Just think of that as that's fine how it is. So if we put a capacitor in here and here, so now the power flows into here when this is on. Now when it's off, this cap is just entirely, it's isolated from there, from opto-isolation. It's isolated by MOSFETs on the other side. But when the switch turns on, the power flows into here to here, and the negative flows into here to the negative there. Okay, just to get the ball rolling, here's the start of our code. Forget the for loop. So we're saying pin 7. Remember, this is pin 7. We're going to say pin 7 go high, and we're going to leave it there for 2 seconds, and then we're going to say shut off, and let's actually let it shut off for a full second. And compile. So if we put a voltmeter on here, then what should we see when we run this code? And we'll keep this at 5 volts. We should see this charge up to 5 volts during this 2 seconds. And that's what it does. And then it's only 100 nanofarads. It's 0.1 UF. So during that 1 second that it's off time, even though there's a 1 or might be 10, I think it's a 1 mega ohm resistor on the voltmeter, it still drains out really quickly during that 1 second. That's why you see it dropping down to about half the voltage. So far so good. We've charged the cap. Now we want to discharge the cap. So how are we going to do that? Well, I'll show you. So now we'll take a line from this leg of the cap and we'll put it out to this other switch, which is pin 6. Now when pin 6 goes high, it makes a connection between here to here, and then it goes to there. So granted, I should have moved this switch down to there, but it's all right with the little jumper line. So now we need to change the code. So now we'll say pin 6 go high. Where are you, pin 6? Okay, I put pin 6 back in. So pin 6 will go high. So we have pin 7 high for 2 seconds, and then pin 7 low. We're going to get rid of that 1 second delay. We're just going to let it delay for 140 microseconds. And so it won't have any time to drain out through here. But then pin 6 will go high. And when pin 6 goes high, it shorts the cap. And we're going to see that the cap actually shorts, and then pin 6 will go low. And I use about 140 microseconds. Let's see what happens now. Okay, this is just what we want to see. It goes up to 5 volts, and then it's not just leaking out, it's kaboom, it discharges. And so now we have a cap that we're charging up, and then once these pins have shut off, it's just sitting there, and then once this turns on, it discharges, kaboom. So now is where things get funky. So let's charge the cap up across this orange line through an inductor. And so I know that this is like a Thayne-Heinz bitoroidal that I was using before. I'm not trying to make any like secret point or anything. It's just that these have a lot of induction, and this is a small cap, and this is what I had lying around. So we're just going to use one of these. Just one of these windings, and we're going to use this one. So we're going to use this winding to charge the coil. You know, to have something with decent induction, it's just, rather than like a 10-pound air core, it's easier to have these. So this goes, where does this go? This goes here. Okay, so bus line to that switch to there. Now, we're not going to be able to see things quick enough without the oscilloscope now. So what we've done now is we'll say pin 7 high for 900 microseconds. That's 900 microseconds. It charges through there. And then it goes low, 140, be safe to shut off. And then pin 6 goes high, and we're going to say 900. Pin 6 is going to discharge across this white line. When we put it on the oscilloscope, now that's what we see. Now there's a couple things I'll just point out. We're at 5.1 volts. It's saying 10.4 volts maximum. Now don't get too excited, because ever since I bought this thing, it was like the cheapest 2-channel one I could find. It's been great, except for the voltage that registers here is always 1 volt higher than, well, I moved the dBm out, but 1 volt higher than, there has to be some way that you can dial that in. I just don't know how. So it's really like 9.4 volts. But we went from 5 volts, and the cap charged up to just about 10 volts. Now, maybe that reminds you a little of what we tapped out by hand in the last video. So if we had a diode in, then what would happen is it would go up to there, and then it would say, oh no, we can't go back. There's a diode, we're blocked, we're stuck. And it would be stuck there at 10 volts. But this is kind of interesting too, that even while this is high, so the power is still connected through here, it just oscillates happily away between the cap and the coil in an LC tank circuit. So if we extend this out to 9,000 instead of 900, you'll really see it. So there's our cap that we just hit with 5 volts through an inductor, and it's happily ringing away, nearly going up to double the voltage to start with, and then just ringing right along there. So let's send it back to 900. And there's one more step, is when we discharge it, let's replace this white line with another inductor. That one's going to start ringing. And once we get the timing dialed in, you'll see this thing really sing. Okay, so here is just like a random ferrite, what do you call that, like a U-core I had lying around that I threw some wire on. And for some reason I actually matched these inductions, but you don't need to. So when we put that on, now this is what we see. Here's this ringing when it's charged, and then here it's ringing when it's discharged. But you'll notice we're no longer going as high on the voltage. It's only going up to 9. Before it was saying like 10.6 here from 5.1 volts. So what's the problem in terms of transforming voltage? I mean, maybe there'd be some way you could make use of it. But when this thing discharged, when it came out of all this, it's sitting at 3 volts. So what if we get it so it's sitting negative? Then what's going to happen? So first, let's see if we can just get rid of that. We're on a, well, good gravy, 2.5 milliseconds. So here's 1 millisecond. That's about half one of those. So it looks like if we chop off about 500 microseconds, it'll put it down there. And we're at 9,000. So let me see if I can get that. So I brought this down to 8,500, and instead of ending up positive, now it's ending up, well, just a little bit negative. But look what happened here. Now that's gone up to, it's saying 11.8 volts. So let's set this coil in right first, because what we're going to want to do, I always turn it the wrong way. We're going to want to grab it right there. Well, before we even get there, I mean, I find this stuff fun. So, I mean, that's right. So I just set this at 1500 here, just to show you how sensitive it is to this. So here, the cap charged up, and then it discharged, but when it swung back through here, now it swung back almost to 10 volts. Are we on a 10 volt scale? No, we're not 5 volt scale. So it swung back to like 5 volts. And so there was like nothing to charge into the cap. And so this one's, you know, it's not doing anything. It's hardly even going above the starting voltage. But when we bring it down to here and then down to here, let's see what happens. Okay, we're starting to get there on the first coil. I just kind of extended this out a little bit. So here's when that discharges. We want it all the way right down to there. But see, even here where we've gone a little bit negative, we're still on the 5 volt input and the 5 volt scale, but now we're at 14.6 volts. So let me get this right down to there. So instead of about 450, maybe 420, 410. Okay, would you believe 380? So if we go down there, that's about as negative as that goes there. And now we're going from 5 volts up to 16, so 3 times as high. However, now here's where it takes off. We don't want this thing coming out there. We want it coming out there. And what do you think is going to happen then? Okay, well, first I'll show you the wrong timing. Here we're at 700 for high, and that's, if you're trying to transform voltage, that is, that's the wrong timing, because that comes out at the exact wrong place. And so what we'll do now to make this dramatic is we'll count down by, I don't know, 50 or 100. Let's count down by 50. If it gets too boring, we'll go to 100. So here's 650, and you'll start to see what I'm getting at here. That's even worse. That's really the wrong timing. It's like nothing. I mean, it's up to 11.2 from 5.1, but that's not what you want. So 600. What we're going to do is start, maybe we'll climb by 100. What is the scale? Yeah, we'll climb by 100. We're going to start climbing this leg here, and we're going to see what happens to the voltage transformation. So 600 to 500 microseconds. I'm not counting by 50 anymore. Okay, starting to look a little better, isn't it? How about 400? Compile. Now you start to see what we're getting at here. That's 5 volts up to 20 and down to -11. All right, I think another 100 will do it. Just to be dramatic, let's go to 350 first. Okay, now we have to change the scale. So instead of, oh, I turned it the wrong way. Now we're on the 10 volt scale, and we're at 5 volts. So, okay, so there you have it, the Utkin transformer, as I like to call it. So we're at 5 volts, and we're swinging between 36.8 and 31.6 for like a 67 volt swing from a 5 volt input. And I'll be honest with you, I'm disappointed. And I think it's because of the ferrites. What I was seeing before, like if we turn this up a little bit, going up to 10, we're at 50 there, and now we're going up to 12, we're at 50. These are 100 volt AC relays, so they can't go any higher than that. And I was at 10 volts and I was maxed out before, and what I think is going on here, that it's actually going down, is that I did it the first time, not on the video, with air cores, and I think the ferrite is somehow dampening it a little bit, because theoretically this should do just what Vladimir was showing in the little pamphlet there, that this should expand out until a spark gap, or until, you know, as we see here, it just starts bleeding across a relay if I turn the voltage up. And I was seeing something, I think, a lot more like that with air cores, and so I think there's a little problem with ferrite cores. But as the saying goes, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, if I've got that right. I mean, my neighbor was trying to give me a horse just the other day, and I was, But in any event, I'm joking. In any event, this is pretty cool too. And what I'm trying to figure out in the back of my mind is, you know, like compare and contrast. Is this different, better, worse than kind of like a buck boost sort of transformation of voltage? And I think it is different. I don't know exactly what to make of it, but I had fun with it, and I hope people had fun coming along, and we'll do more later. So how do I end? Stay healthy and keep smiling. Take care. Bye-bye.